Hello everyone, how are we all doing? Back 2 nights in a row. What's going on? What's going on? But we couldn't let today go by without having a little bit of a chat about today's news and looking through some of the stuff that they've announced already. Maybe have a chat between us about what we think comes next and what we're going to expect coming down the line. I know we've seen a very much. I mean, this is very much a teaser, isn't it? You know, this is pretty standard procedure for a new game. They'll sprinkle just the limited amount of content out, and then over the next weeks and months we'll get a little bit more. We'll get a nice long CGI trailer. I'm sure they might, if they do E3 or one of those already, they will maybe do a special trailer for that as well. Then we'll see a gameplay trailer. I'm sure the likes of DJ and daggerwin and those guys will get early access to this, so we'll see some stuff before it comes out. So there we go. So I've got to say, I'm hyped. I'm hyped to be able to get some information, even the information we've got today. I know there's been a few naysayers going, well, I've not seen enough yet to be convinced it's going to be massively different to FS19, but from that perspective, I'm willing to sit on the fence for now and see where they go with it. There's some big news in here. I think that's maybe been lost in the images they've put out. I think a lot of people have focused on the images and things like that, but actually there's some really, really big technical news in here that I think some people have kind of just brushed over really, or maybe don't know what it means. So we'll look at that. But first and foremost, I'm really interested in the chat just to see what you guys think. What were your thoughts when you saw it this morning? Yeah, it's only 18 seconds long. It quite clearly shows us that Seasons is going to be in it. Obviously, it starts off in the fall or in the autumn, depending on where you are in the world, and. I'll just pull it up again, and we'll do it without sound this time. So obviously we've got the autumn there, and so interestingly, Argsy and I were having a quick chat earlier on. We've got the red barn in the background. Now you can't really tell if that's a US style truck, but again, that's a US style farmhouse in the background there as well. So hopefully, you don't know, we might get a little bit more love for the US farms at launch, which could be good. So we could see there, but I did do a little bit of digging on this, and I thought it was maybe worth flashing up as well. This is the in-game trailer for the current game. I think it might just be the same barn. They may be referencing it all round the same farm, because look, there's a truck similar colour to the one in the other trailer as well. So maybe people are reading too much into that. I kind of hope. I got the impression there's going to be a US map and a European map to start with, as well as this upgraded Erlengrat map. So we shall see. But I thought that was interesting. It was a good point. So we shall see what comes from that. So let's have a quick run through this. The fact it's on every platform is great. You know what? We don't want to stop people from playing the game. It'll be interesting to see what they do with PlayStation 5 and Xbox X. Obviously, they'll be able to ramp up the quality of the graphics on there and things like that. I kind of hope that it scales with the quality of the machine you've got running, so that'll be interesting. But what does it say here? We're taking and the fact that Giants are saying they're taking a big leap forward, they're not going to say that if they haven't got, I think, something new in there. I'm going to be really interested to see what that is. The fact that they're self-publishing now, I think, gives them a bit more freedom as well, so that's a good thing. Seasons. Now, we know that's such a popular game. I kind of hope that they've not taken it and done it themselves. I hope they've done it in conjunction with Realismus, the guys that make Seasons now, and I think they probably have. I'd like to think they have, because they obviously worked very closely with them to get it integrated and working on consoles early doors. Good point, Argsy there. Precision farming. I know that they're saying at the moment that it's going to be a big deal, and they're going to keep developing precision farming. So that's a really exciting prospect, because I think we talked about it on last night's stream as well. the scaling of difficulty. I think some people are crying out for a real simulator now, like properly difficult, challenging simulator, but one that you could really dial back as well, and you could play as a game, and for fun and relaxing. But this looks great. This looks good. There's some. I think there's clearly some development in seasons from the current seasons in terms of, some of the colours, maybe, more of the foliage changes. So I'm interested to see what's on there. Hey, Silver News is in the house. How you doing, man? Thanks for dropping by, man. There you go. One of the Realismus modded guys works at Giants too. So there we go. Definitely a collab there. I think it would be crazy for them not to leverage the knowledge that those guys have already. So that's pretty clear that'll be something that's done in tandem as well. Now, we had a really interesting chat on our Discord this afternoon. Calmsden Farm. Now, when that trailer was released the other week, and we're talking about 8K resolution textures and things like that in there, we were like, this looks amazing, but we were interested to see how that was going to work. But actually, we're wondering now, wonder if Calmsden is going to be one of the first maps that comes out on FS22. Who knows? It's only 6 months away. That's a good point as well, Jonathan. I think you can see the texturing in the trees here. There's a lot more detail in the trees than there has been in FS19, so that's an interesting one as well. Lighting as well. I'm really thinking there's going to be something around, but maybe they'll utilize the RTX cards a little bit more and do some really, really nice specular lighting. Could be really, really interesting for that stuff. Now I'm gonna quickly jump out because I don't think many people have talked about this yet. We're going to talk about the performance side, and then we'll go back to have a look at the images and stuff in a minute. So, luckily, the agency that I work for does a lot of work with computer games companies, particularly EA Games is one of our clients. So I had a quick chat with a couple of the guys there this afternoon. So DirectX 12 support, obviously a big boost in terms of a rendering engine for gaming. So that's really positive. So multi-threading optimization. One of the things we know at the moment with FS19 that it only uses one core. Even if you've got a multi-core processor, it can only use one core. So the fact that they're using multi-threading now is a real positive. I think that's great. Texture streaming. So texture streaming is an interesting one, and it's one that is utilized really, really well in the new flight sim game. So the flight sim game loads the textures the closer you get. So when it's further away, they won't render it as much because you can't get that detail. But the closer you get, they will continually render that texture in. So the closer you get, the more detail you will see, but it will be done on the fly. So it's not trying to load everything into the game and carry that extra weight of graphics, even when you can't see it. So that's going to be interesting. Occlusion culling. So occlusion culling is basically like how the best way to describe this. If you've got a big trailer park farm shed, and you've got a big RX 9RX parked in front of that shed. If you walk around the back of that shed, at the moment in FS19, it will still hold all the detail and all the information about that graphics within the game. Now, what occlusion culling does, the moment that tractor is out of shot or is hidden by another thing on the game, it stops rendering that tractor, gets rid of all that information. And only if you walk around the side again and it comes back into shot, it will appear again. So, again, it's putting loads less effort onto the game because it's not holding all of that information in game, even when you can't see it. Temporal anti-aliasing is a really good one as well. That is based around when your frame rate drops. So let's say your frame rate drops on a badly optimized map or a map with loads of information on, and you've got a tractor moving or anything moving within the scene as well, that's moving at a certain rate because it's set to be moving at a certain rate. So it's moving at a certain speed, and that's where you get the jerkiness and the judderiness. And temporal anti-aliasing basically calculates that and slows that down. So there's some really, really interesting stuff in there. I think performance is going to be probably one of the biggest noticeable differences between 19 and 22. So it'll be interesting to see, actually. And the fact that they're going to bring some of that to consoles as well is going to be really, really interesting. So for me, I think out of everything in this today, it's that technical performance stuff that gets me really, really excited. And then on top of that, obviously, then if using multi-threading optimization, DirectX 12, I think you're going to see some real specific detail within mods. You're going to be able to push the mods a lot further. There can be a lot more moving parts. The animations for how they work will be a lot better. Maybe the amount of dirt or the way that they throw up dirt could be different. Really, really interested to see how that's going to be. And then the audio stuff I think is interesting as well. I mean, the fact that you'd be able to hear game changes and the audio, the tonal variation. So if a tractor's under load, pulling a big load, you'll be able to hear the tractor straining. I think that's going to be really, really interesting. That whole reverberation and things like that is going to be. I'm intrigued to see how that works. They talk about gear selection as well. Do you think that's going to be a default? You're going to have to run through the gears. Do you run an automatic tractor, or can you run a manual tractor? As default, that'd be good. So I'm keen to see that. So they've talked about sound improvements for a long time now, haven't they? They have talked about that for a long time. But then you kind of look at some of these images. Let me fire up a couple of these. I kind of think it's still in development because you read all of that stuff. I mean, and these are decent size. These are 4K images. So the first things you kind of take away from this, these ground textures are a lot nicer, aren't they? We really like the kind of authenticity of these, which is really, really nice. And actually, I think Silver, it was you that said this afternoon on your video. It's interesting at the moment when you direct drill. It isn't as clean as that in the background. It kind of leaves a bit of chaff and stuff on the ground, and so I kind of think that this could maybe be obviously it's still a work in progress, but they've still got some work to do on this. But I'm interested. These new textures look great, and I'm actually interested. Does anybody have an idea what this map is? I'm trying to work it out. I'm wondering if this is, one of their new maps, but I was trying to work out from that bridge in the background. This clearly feels a bit more European than a US map. In fact, they've got German number plates on here. People have talked about the number plate thing as well. So obviously they've got different number plates. There's a German style number plate there. I think on one of the other images there's a US number plate as well. So Tim, it's not the update to Erlengrat, I think you mean, Tim. No, I think this is too. This is too green. I actually thought it might be. It feels like Chellington, to be honest. When you drive over the road and there's a train track around there, but obviously I'm not sure it would be Chellington. So that's interesting. Obviously new models as well. The new Massey E8S, which is a really lovely tractor. It's nice to see that. A bit more detail in the trees there in the background. Potentially, I still think there's a mix of 19 and 22 in here. There's certain elements, but I think there's a lot more to come in this detail. I mean, they've launched it. They've launched this trailer now. It's a good 6 months. I don't think they're gonna show their hand straight away. They're actively going to hold on to stuff. So we don't know if this is with the graphics dialed down slightly. They could be doing something, but I'd be surprised if we don't see more in the graphics front as we go forward. Again, new models, New Holland. This looks like a rather chunky combine. I'm interested to see what happens with the chaff side of things as well here, whether it comes out of the back loosely like that, or you get that kind of swirl of dust around. So I'm intrigued to see what happens there. But again, we've got new textures on the ground here, so I think we'll see a lot of new textures in this game. I think they'll probably have overhauled that whole element of stuff, even the plant textures as well. They've not said how many new textures that they're how many new crops they're going to introduce as well. So obviously we'll see new textures for those as well. So lots and lots of stuff that is still we don't know the answer to. They've teased us But you know, there's a lot of speculation out there still for us to consider. I'm interested to see what they might do with the weather as well. You know, it changes on 6 hourly stages at the moment. Will they adjust it so it's a little bit more dynamic? Who knows? Who knows? You know, are the clouds, are there different variation types of clouds? Yeah, the wheat does look a lot more dense. You're right. I think that's going to help. That multi-threading of the cores is just going to open up so many opportunities to not be limited now. I really hope. Of all of the things, it would be lovely to get rid of, wouldn't it? Be the ring of death in the graphics. And I know you can adjust it and move it further out, but it's always there. And that long-term rendering thing, I kind of hope that's going to do away with that for forever. Which would be good, which would be really good. This next one, so the animal thing, I'm really interested. I did a bit of digging today. I may be wrong, but I think we've got these are shorthorns. I think over here, the brown cattle, and I think these are brown Swiss. Might be wrong, but definitely new cattle types. So I hope that we'll find out a bit more on that. People have talked a lot about the cows sitting down as well. So I kind of hope that there's a lot more dynamic movement of animals. I think it's pretty good. Certainly horses and things like that I think are pretty good. But maybe there's there's a broader range of movement for animals. Maybe they move around a lot more and in and out of the sheds a lot more. It's going to be interesting. And the detail on the cows, you know, they actually look furry now instead of plastic cows in the field. So even that animal, you know, him licking is licking. If you've ever been near to cows, that's a classic cow move. Basically licking the grass out of your nostrils when you've eaten it. So that's going to be interesting to see. Again, grass texture looks very similar to what it is at the moment, maybe a little bit more dense. So it's going to be interesting. But I think animals are going to be interesting. They've specifically said as well that they're going to, you know, focus on animals a little bit. There's different ways or new ways of doing animal husbandry. So that's another one, T-Man. That's a perfect one. Frustrating when you've got a 200 cow pen. And they'll only show 10 cows in it because it has such a detrimental effect on the game. I kind of hope that that's going to have been sorted. So we will see. So the animal stuff is interesting, but you know, we know that's probably the thing they've talked about the least, but also probably one of the things that the image tells us the most about, which is interesting. Now this one's interesting as well. Again, we've got that stubble field texture. And I really like the fact that when you cultivate it, it's not leaving such a clean brown finish as we've got at the moment. There you go. You guys with more knowledge of cattle than me are coming in with options. So good to see that. But I imagine there'll be like a European breed and probably a US breed in there. So yeah, this stuff behind the cultivator here, I think is really interesting. That straw and leaving some of the stuff behind is a nice touch. And then on top of that, the dust looks a lot thinner, a lot cleaner as well. So I'm interested to see how that's going to work going forward. This is the 9R that we think has got a US plate on it as well. So again, this could be part of and obviously it's got the warning triangle on rather than the red and white chevrons. So it's going to be interesting to see, are these customizable? Who knows? I do know from both this one and I think, yes, if we look at this on the back of the Fendt, look, it's got a Farm 2022 on there. Maybe we can put our own number plates. Maybe you could have FSG in there. Who knows? So it's going to be interesting. And again, this is something that Silver mentioned this afternoon in his vid as well. Not only have you got your stubble done here, but it looks like there's other textures. We've also noticed as well he's cutting green corn. That's not fully ripe corn, is it? Unless that's a brand new texture as well. But possibly, is there something like Maize Plus in there that lets you cut stuff sooner rather than later? Now this Fent, let's be honest, this Fent forage harvester looks rather nice as well, doesn't it? I mean, that's a bit of a beast. So interested to see what they're going to do with new machine and what they've said. 100 manufacturers, 400 pieces of kit. I can't remember off the top of my head what FS19 came out with. Was it as many as that? Who knows? So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, the new ground textures look really. Yeah, look, it's not uniform. That's a very good point, Silver. It's not uniform. Look, there are different. It feels a lot more natural, doesn't it? Not every single bit of stubble looks the same. So, that's really, really interesting. We don't know enough about textures and ground. If they've got dynamic soil textures or things like that. Certainly, the looks a little bit more shadowing on there. It looks pretty similar to what we've got at the moment. So we'll just have to see how that pans out. But I'd like to think as well there might be a little bit more dynamic, maybe not as much as real mod or anything like that, but it could be good. So who knows? Who knows? Like I said, we've got more questions than answers after today, but it's good to kind of analyze this stuff, I think, and draw some conclusions and look forward to seeing what's next. But yeah, look, I mean, the detail of the chaff coming out of the chopper, look at the detail on this chopper, these little springs and stuff. All the rivets down the side, the quality of these mods looks really, really nice. So I think we're gonna be pleasantly surprised. We're going to be pleasantly surprised with this stuff. I'm already toying with the idea of buying a 4K monitor for when it comes out, but we'll see. Anything else that jumps out? Obviously, can we see some seasons in the background here? It's clearly, autumn. What are we saying here? Are those tyres a new brand? Because picky as it is, I'd like to see more tyre brands in the game. Potentially Shiggy, you never know. Obviously, licensing comes into it as well. I know, obviously on PC we get Firestone and things like that. I can't actually quite read that there. Should we zoom in a little bit more and see if we can? So they're Mitas on that one. They're Mitas tyres, but there's nothing to say that you potentially might get more tyre manufacturers. We shall see. No evidence of multi-train angle. Yeah, that's a big one as well, Argsy. I would like to think, with the increases in graphics, that will be a given. So we shall see. But lots and lots of potential here. Let's just jump back to the. The blog post as well. So it's going to be interesting as well. So updated Erlengratt map. Now, whether or not that's only going to be updated if you've bought the DLC, or they're going to allow that to be in the base game, who knows? How about a 4x map as standard as well? That would be awesome, wouldn't it? When might we get the next teaser? I would think they may do something like fact sheets or drip feed information on a smaller basis, on a regular or consistent time scale. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see another video for a couple of months, maybe 3 months. I mean, they'll do another CGI 3 months, and then maybe they'll start to introduce gameplay stuff after that. I'm not sure, but would you like to have the option of turning on real life weather? That would be nice, wouldn't it? That would be a good idea. Smarter helper AI as well. Who mentioned that? Tom Swift. Good one to discuss, actually, because much as we almost kind of love AI in the game for being as terrible as it is. It's a running joke. I think we all would like to have better AI in the game, wouldn't we? So let's hope there's whether or not it's still as automated as it at the moment, or they introduce something that a little closer to a course play, that you can map your courses slightly. So that would be interesting. So we'll just have to see how that goes. Hopefully it goes around the field boundaries exactly, Macaulay. That's the kind of thing that we hope, not just the up and down, it will actually do a couple of headlands and stuff like that. That's a very good point, actually. No, we don't want real life weather in Scotland, because it would be farming rain simulator, I think. Traffic on the roads as well. Let's hope that was a little bit more intelligent. And there you go. Costigan Giants has reached out to content creators for tips on AI workers. Well, that's good. If they're speaking to the likes of Auto Drive and Courseplay, that would be good. Real rain on glass with real wipers. Again, that's been done really well in other games for a long time now. So let's hope that things like that, the subtle details of stuff like that would be really, really nice, wouldn't they? But I'm the eternal optimist. So I'm quietly confident after reading those points further down about occlusion culling, temporal anti-aliasing, texture streaming, and multi-threading optimization. I kind of think we're going to be in that territory where just what's capable without the game falling over. What will happen at the moment, we're all probably running gaming PCs that are way more powerful than Farming Simulator is able to take advantage of. So the game will crash a long time before you run out of power in your computer at the moment. I would like it to be the other way around, where we're really pushing the limits of the games, of the hardware, because you're making the game work hard. So all of that stuff says to me that it's going to be able to do a lot more efficiently. So that's exciting. The interesting thing as well, we had Polycount Taz in our live stream last night as well, and he was saying that he's probably going to finish up with the product with the projects he's got on at the moment, and then probably take a little bit of a breather and see what's happening with the new game as it goes forward. I'd like to think that transition between FS19 and FS22 isn't going to be a huge leap. They've not rebuilt the engine from the ground up. They've obviously developed it and optimized it. So potentially we've got the option there to port a lot of FS19 mods over. So that would be quite good. Take care, Harold. Nice. Thanks for dropping by. That's great to see you. And I'm almost hoping that Giants is going to be engaging with and I fully expect they will be engaging with the modders well ahead of the game launch, to potentially have mods lined up and almost ready to go within the first few weeks of the game coming out. They might let it go a little bit longer. To be honest, I think, let's be honest, when we get the game in the first few weeks, it's going to take us that long to get our heads around it and find stuff out. But that momentum with mods that's built all the way through FS19 is going to be really, really interesting. So there we are, guys. It was always only going to be a relatively short stream. So I thought it was just nice to have a chat. Obviously, we're all incredibly excited. I think I have to err on the side of caution as well. I don't think there's enough here for us to make any assumptions that this is it. I caught a few threads in Reddit today where it just looks like FS19. This is rubbish. I'm really disappointed. But I think they're keeping their powder dry. I think they're just holding on, and they'll release more stuff as it comes along. So we've got to sit patient. It's almost more frustrating. I was happier. I was happier not knowing. It's great to see this stuff, but now I'm just like, give me more. I want to know more. So, Katie Townsley, how about Xbox One? I think the limitations of the game will be driven by the limitations of the hardware when it comes to the older consoles. So both PS4 and Xbox One. I think at the moment, even now, when you look at games like Red Dead Redemption and things like that, they're running on PS4 and Xbox One. I think you don't have that. I think even now, FS19 isn't utilizing the full power of those consoles. They've said as well there's going to be increased slot counts. So hopefully the game is maybe better optimized for handling more equipment. So we'll just have to wait and see. Macaulay, I think you'll absolutely see a PS4 version and a PS5 version. I'm not sure they'll be able to do a just one console version across all the different versions of the console. So we shall see. Shiggy, thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate that. Is it bad that I wasn't expecting them to push news about FS22, but instead it was about a new FS19 DLC? Hey, you know what, Zenny? I think a lot of people thought that. I don't think the expectation was that it was necessarily a new game, but I think as it got closer and they did the countdown and stuff, we thought it was okay. And the video they released last week about look how far we've come with FS19, that maybe it was something big in the DLC, but until you know, you don't know. When DJ Goham dropped into our stream last night as well, and he said, I mean, obviously he has the inside track as well, and I think he kind of just said, look, it's going to be a good day for the community tomorrow. So from that perspective, it has been. From my perspective, the hype is real. We've got 6 months, give or take, to wait. And I think it's going to be interesting. And here's a question back to all of you guys. What do we think? And actually, Scorpion, who's just joined the chat here, is one of my regular guys on the channel. Scorpion is very technically minded, and I imagine, the whole performance-based comments that they've put in here today and the things they've listed is going to hype him a little bit, because I genuinely think better utilization of the power of the equipment that we've got is going to go a long, long way towards making the game just run a lot more smoothly. We kind of make do with stuttery frame rates and stuff, and especially on modded maps where they're really trying to push the boundaries of what the game can do. So it'll be really nice to see how that technology now, the technological side of the newer or the more developed engine is going to change that. So fingers crossed. What I do hope though is that this isn't, visually, I'm expecting to see more than this as we go forward. Tom Swift engine, it's Giants Engine 9. I think basically we're on 8 at the moment. So Giants Editor and the engine that FS19 is running on is 8. So I think they've obviously done a lot of development of that for 9. So it's a newer version of 8 rather than a wholesale build from the ground. It's very difficult to build an entirely new game engine. Literally they wouldn't have been able to do it in the timescale they've had. So it's clearly something they're building on over time. So more complex mods, Jarrett, I think will come from these, predominantly from these performance upgrades. I think what we'll see is because they're utilizing more of the power of the equipment they're in, it will allow them to have more detailed mods with more moving parts and a lot more animation and a lot more detail. So hopefully we'll see the poly counts of some of the mods on console maybe going up as well, and certainly sharper and much nicer poly counts. Maybe we'll see the whole size of mods go up. I know at the moment, you can get really nice, beautifully optimized tractors for 3 or 4 meg, but maybe we'll see those file sizes go up. So let's all make sure we've got enough hard drives. Hard drive space. Everybody's going to be out and going buying new SSDs just in case. But I am genuinely quietly confident that this is going to turn out to be, and it's going to be like FS19. If you remember when FS19 came out, it took a while for it to bed in. It always does with new games. Teething problems, not many mods, things like that. And I think a lot of us stayed with FS17 for a while and played that and played our, all of the mods and all of the maps that we'd got and grown to love. But over time, there'll be a point where those two cross over, and we'll start playing FS22 more, and more mods will start coming out, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. So yes, Scorp, I see it from a commercial perspective that they've kept the old console support in, but I hope they don't. I hope they adjust, they dial the game down to work on old consoles rather than capping the game from being the best it can be on higher performing equipment. And I think they're probably thinking towards the future in terms of making sure it works on PS5s and Xbox Series X and things like that. So yeah, exactly what you said. What Args is saying there, and I get the feeling that that's not the case. I get the feeling now, with the DirectX 12 support, this multi-threading optimization, all of this stuff. I think that I'd like to think we're going to get a lot more control in the graphical choices in the settings. So we shall wait and see. Obviously, that's going to be limited on consoles, but I kind of hope when they open that up, a little bit more to new consoles and PC. Jelsa Farmer, do you think any mods today could be base game equipment in FS22? Do you know what? There's every possibility. They've done that before. And I'd like to think that I know they had their little lovers tiff over Christmas, but I'd like to think that the relationship they have with the modders is strong enough that the modders will be excited to develop this. The opportunity to build new mods for the new game. Maybe they've done some work in the background to make it a little bit easier to build mods as well. I know Giants Engine is not the most user-friendly thing to work with. So we shall see. It certainly happened before. And there's some of the most stunning mods out there. Argsy mentioned it just up there before. Custom modding, JHHG, Carl Farms. They're building mods to a standard, if not better, than some of the base game mods. So let's just see. I'm open and optimistic to everything. I'm looking forward to. We talked about it in last night's stream. I think there's something around. I would love to see much harder modes included in there as well for those people that want them. But also the ability to dial it down. At the moment, I kind of feel, New Farmer, Farm Manager, and Start From Scratch are great base games. But then within that, all you can really control, all right, you can add in seasons, you can change the speed of crop growth, you can change it from easy to hard economy, but it's pretty linear, if you know what I mean. I think it would be great to open up that and make it a lot more flexible, with a much broader scope. So that would be good. Shiggy, you hope they improve the headlights on vehicles. They don't light up very far on FS90. I agree. I very rarely drive at night now because I can't see where I'm going. And I thought maybe that's because I'm getting on a bit and I can't see as well as I used to. But I agree with that. Tom Swift, this has to be in the $40 to $60 range, I expect. I think probably for PC when it comes out, it's going to be a little bit more than we've paid in the past. And again, they'll probably release it with season pass and stuff like that, which will adjust the price. Console, I don't think how much it's going to be for PS5 and Xbox Series X. They're looking at the prices of the games for those at the moment, they're crazy high. So you might have to grin and bear it if you're on new gen consoles. Scorpion wants the new cow to be able to lick your nose. Now there's a nice thought. It's going to keep me awake at night now. And a cat for fusion. I know, yeah, they got a dog. Well, they even have cats. So there we go. So yeah, guys, we are where we are. I think there's a lot to consider. I still think there's a lot more to come. JC Rides, they need to remove the vehicle cap on console. I'm pretty sure, JC, if they could, they would. I know slot counts are going to go up considerably with the new game. They've mentioned that today. So there you go. There you go. Even pushing the limits of last-gen consoles to enjoy with improved slot usage. So I think you will see that, but I always think there will be. There's a cap based on the hardware that's in there, so I think you will always see it. But it will be a lot more improved. So let's see what happens there. More paid DLC to fund it, improve the game rather than a new release. Vehicle maintenance system, we've talked about that as well. We'd love to see breakdown. I mean, that's been talked about in every what we'd like to see in FS, the next FS game video on YouTube, isn't it? You know, mechanics and breakdowns and stuff like that. So yeah, that'd be interesting. If they self-publish, do they make more money? They do. They're not handing it off to a third party, Raymond, for distribution. So yes, absolutely. I think it's a good move on their part. I think, for sure. Career mode as well. Yeah, that would be interesting. We don't know anything about how they're going to set that up at the moment. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they handle it. Interface as well. If you remember the change in the way the menus looked and everything changed radically from 17 to 19. I'd be interested to see what the whole interface is and how that's going to work as well. So Stubborn. More manual tuning for equipment would be awesome. Yeah, that would be great as well. Wouldn't it be great if you could roll it into your workshop and fix and repair your tractors? Apart from John Deere, which you'd obviously have to get the dealer to do. But it's definitely not going to be worse. So I'm expecting for whatever they worked on. Yeah, I agree with you, Jarrett. I think they've had an extra year. Obviously, lockdowns had an impact on things as well. But you know, they're thinking about it. From what I read today, I think they're thinking about it in the right way. So we'll see. All the best, Argsy. Take care. We'll see you soon, man. I'm going to head off now as well. It was good to chat, guys. Hope that shed a bit of light on things. Certainly the performance side of stuff. I was conscious that nobody else had really touched on that in a lot of detail today, so I thought I wanted to get that across and share that. But other than that, let's keep our fingers crossed. Let's stay positive about it. You know, they're obviously doing a lot of work in the background, so let's support them with that rather than dissing them. We'll just have to wait and see. We've got to be more patient, haven't we? But in the interim, it's been great to chat to you again. All the best. You saved me having to edit a video last minute as well. So thank you, Giants, for that today. And we'll be in touch very soon. But thanks for watching, guys. Much appreciated. And I will see you all again very soon. Bye for now.